All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. I hope everybody is doing well tonight. We are going to pick up kind of where we left off on the last stream. I know we missed one last week, but I did get some stuff done offline. So we're going to go over what some of those things are, at least on a high level. And then we're going to jump into some editor-like things today and start thinking about what that's going to look like, because we are going to need that before we build out too many game features. We're going to need some sort of editor to help us prototype stuff. So that's sort of the next step. But before we get to that, I do want to just take a quick second and thank the supporters of the channel, beginning with our elite partner, Javier Olazaran, followed by our partners, Gabolis Inc. and Matt Osgard. They are the highest tiers of subscription over on YouTube memberships and Patreon. And they are followed by the list of supporters you see here on the screen scrolling by. They are the combination of the other tiers of support over on YouTube memberships and Patreon, as well as Twitch subscriptions. So thank you all very much for that support. It means a great deal to me and helps me cover the costs of running this channel. Things like software licenses, hosting fees, and eventually assets, music, things like that. So it's a huge help. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. With that being said, I would also like to extend a big thank you to all of you guys, the viewers, whether you're catching this live on the YouTube side or the Twitch side. We do simulcast to both. Or if you are catching the VOD after the fact, thank you guys very much for being here. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you, because if it wasn't for you guys, this project and this channel would not exist. So much, much appreciated. Penguin Operator, good to see you. Ruche, of course, good to see you too. All right. So I think probably the best place to start is I'm just going to run this, right? And just kind of get an idea of some of the things that have changed, so that we can kind of start talking about some of the things that we're going to need coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and I think just maximize this just so we can see a little bit better. So one of the biggest changes that I've made is with the editor gizmo. Now you'll see that it's not currently active. That's because I don't have anything selected. So if I were to click on this cube here, you might be able to see this this sort of 3-axis sort of indicator here that says I've got something selected. And if we move around that, we can see that from different perspectives. Maybe it's a little bit clearer here, right? And so that's basically just a marker of saying, hey, this is what's currently selected. It's not meant to be bright. It's not really meant to stand out. It's just sort of there for reference. If we want to do something with it, then we can go ahead and we can type 2, like the number 2, and it'll switch to move mode, right? Number 3 will go to rotate mode, and number 4 will go to our scale mode, right? And so these will allow us to sort of move the objects around.
2 years, bro. 2 years.
Spiro, thank you so much for the 2 years of tier 1 sub. I really appreciate that, man. How are you doing tonight? Thank you so much for being here. By the way, if you guys aren't familiar with Spiro, he's always doing cool stuff on his channel. He's making a game where the engine is written in C, and the renderer is using the HTML DOM in the browser, which is super out of the box thinking, and it's a really clever project. So between that and the tech news that he's always kind of reviewing as the new things come out, I highly recommend you guys go check him out. But yeah, thank you so much, Spiro. I really appreciate that. Good to see you, buddy. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of going over some things that I did offline since we missed a stream last week. I was thinking about trying to make that up, but it just didn't wind up working out. Right. So I went ahead and got some work done instead. Right. So the biggest difference between this gizmo and the previous gizmo that you'll see in all of the previous videos is twofold, right? So this one's got some more robust geometry on it, so you can actually see it a lot better. Before it was sort of represented by these really thin lines, and I've kind of done away with those and moved it to actual geometry for that. And then the other thing is I've gone ahead and fixed the scaling, right? So before, it would kind of, as you move the camera away, the gizmo would get smaller and smaller and smaller and harder to see and harder to interact with. And that's been fixed. It now has a constant size on the screen. So no matter how much I back away from it, the size of the gizmo itself does not change on the screen. So I can select any object I want. And the gizmo remains the same size no matter how close it is on the screen. Right? And so even if you zoom like way in, right, it's still the same relative size on the screen as it is back here. Right? So that's kind of the standard way that a lot of gizmos work in things like, Blender, 3D Studio Max, even Unreal, Unity, things like that. And so we have this new and improved gizmo, which works a heck of a lot better than the old one. It's a lot easier to use. And allows us to, sort of move things around and manipulate objects within the world, right? It still needs some tweaks, right? There's still some things around it I've got to fix. It looks like the rotation spins backwards, for example. So, I'll need to fix that. But that's, kind of small potatoes compared to all the other work that went into it. We can also scale it, right? So we can actually go negative scale too if we wanted to, but I'm going to leave it at positive scale. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much where the gizmo's at. We also do have a sort of a global mode and a local mode. So the local mode is more relative to the actual orientation of what's selected versus the global mode, which is, moving along the global axis. And I see that there's a couple of issues with that too. So, we'll fix those at some point, but I don't feel like there's a whole lot of value in troubleshooting that stuff in the stream. Okay. So we've got that. We have the ability to, if I switch back to camera mode here or world mode, we have our ability to, run our little character on the screen. Attack, jump, jump in place, walk, run, etc. Right? And so one of the things that we're going to need to do next is to sort of build out a zone. And we need some sort of visual way to do that. And I want to do it using a couple of things, right? So the plan for building out the zone is going to be basically we're going to use freeform geometry like this, rocks, other things, right? And then we're going to have some sort of collision geometry that's going to look something like this, right? Which this is just a very basic example, right? But what I'm thinking is to have a super simple system like this that we sort of slide around on, and then we've got, smaller sort of inclines here that we can kind of step on. You obviously can't run up walls and things like that. You'll sort of hit them and bounce back, unless that elevation change is very small, and then you could sort of step up onto it. If you were to be up here and you were to sort of step onto this, it would make you slide down, things like that, right? So I started building this geometry out with some of that in mind. And I think what might be a good idea before I get too far with that is to have some sort of way to easily place this stuff in the world. And so that's what we're going to kind of look at tonight, is extending, our editing capabilities, maybe fixing some issues with the gizmo as we find them, but also thinking about editor state, and using our little command console up here, or our debug console, to our advantage, right? So it might be nice to be able to say, scene.save, right? And have that save. Something like that, right? Or to be able to type in coordinates for something. So we might want to say something like selected dot position dot x equals, equals 3, whatever, right? So just kind of stuff like that we want to think about. All right. Ilis, good to see you. Fake Siva, how's it going? Good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well. Singy over on YouTube side, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. All right, so if we take a look at main, we actually have a lot of stuff in our state for editor stuff, right? So if we actually take a look at the application state itself, let's see, we want this one. We've got some debug stuff in here, and this is kind of specific to debug builds right now. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to have all of this stuff stay debug, right? Because some of it's actually editor stuff, which we might want to release build of the editor. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I want it to be split out. But anyway, we have that. We have a game mode, right? Which is something we probably ought to think about as well. So the game mode right now is basically world editor, main menu, or pause menu. And then we've got other things to think about, like actually having a level loaded up in playable versus having it sort of in a render, an editor-like mode, right? There's a slight difference there that we'll have to talk about. And then there's, of course, saving, which is going to be pretty important as well. So I think probably the first thing that we should probably finish up actually is saving. Because I've already got it a decent amount of the way there. And we could probably just go ahead and knock it out. So, serialize. So serialize, essentially what that is going to do is it's going to build a scene file like this, right? So this is what we've seen hand-coded on stream many times before. And so essentially what we want to do is we want to be able to write this file back out. And so I've gone ahead and, again, off camera, I kind of started putting together the case in for this. And so we have, all of these properties up here. We've got, the version, the name, the description, the directional light properties, the shadow distance properties, all of that stuff is right here. And then we start taking a look at entities, because entities is the rest of the file and is going to be most of the file, right? So entities, essentially what we do is we take a look at the root entities first in the scene. And then we go ahead and we add those particular objects, right? And then we add entities to that entities array to the base object of the entire file, and then we're good. But what we don't have is this entity serialize R, which is recursive, right? This is what actually creates the entity sort of case and object in here, right? So if we go into that, essentially the way that works is we have all of the top level properties first.
Totally worth.
Oh, thank you for the Prime, Jellin. Appreciate that. Good to see you as well. How have you been? Really appreciate that support. Thank you very much. Let's see. May I ask how to walk on terrain with underground holes that I can walk on the ground right above a hole and walk into a hole from an entrance on the ground? What techniques can be used to achieve this? It's kind of a loaded question. It depends on the terrain type, right? Like if it's a voxel terrain versus a height map terrain, there's different things you'd have to do with that. You could use multiple terrains to achieve that. So in other words, what you might do is you might have two different terrains. If you have like height map terrains, you might have a top level terrain that's got holes in it, right? That leads to caves that, could maybe have terrains inside of that. Or you could use, some sort of static mesh with a collision object or something like that. If it's just moving over a height map terrain, you could just do a ray cast into the terrain and figure out where the height is for your current position. We're actually going to be doing that at some point. Although not with terrain, we're going to be doing it with collision objects, but it's kind of the same principle. So, but yeah, that's kind of a loaded question over there. Oh, you guys kicked off a hype train. That's funny. I haven't seen one of those in a while. Currently working on laying Wait, Lang Jam Game Jam. Not familiar with that one. There you build your own programming language and game in it. Ooh, geez. How long? I mean, that's kind of a large task for a game jam. Like, how long does that game jam actually last? That's crazy. And it also sounds like something I'd want to do at some point. Because I'm a masochist, I suppose. Okay, so entities. So when we serialize that, we get the top level stuff. So every entity has a name, type, transform. Every entity can potentially have tags. We're not actually using those, but it can have them. And then we go ahead and we get, based off the entity's type, we go ahead and serialize the properties, right? So if it's a model, we just write out the asset name and package name. Height map terrains, we don't have that re-implemented yet, so I'm not going to add it right now. If we have a water plane, we go ahead and we, just write out the size of that. That's all we have for now. Audio emitter, again, is just the asset name and package name on top of the other properties. Volume is basically volume type. So is it a trigger? Is it something else? The shape type for that, and then depending on what the shape type is, either a radius or extents. And then we should probably have something in here. I think the only two types of shapes we can have here are this. So I'm actually going to do, instead of this, just so we catch it in the future, let's go ahead and do kfatal not implemented. Right, that way we catch it. Fix me. More shape types. Okay. Apotham, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate that a lot. 11 months, wow. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. How have you been? Let's see. Thank you for the follow, Tiny Beth. Opinion on Zig. I don't have one because I haven't used it in depth. It seems like it offers like a couple of nice things. Like comp time is one of the things that I would like out of it. But I don't want the dependency, and with a code base between this game and the engine that is upwards of almost 90,000 lines of code at the moment, I'm not going to be switching anytime soon. So yeah, I don't really have an opinion. You might ask Spiro in chat of his opinion on that, because I know he used Zig for quite a while. I think he did. I know he did go back to C after a while of using it, but he used it for a few large projects. So if Spiro's still in chat, he might be able to speak on that a little bit. Okay, hit shape tags, that's fine. So we output those. We do the enter, leave, and tick commands for the volume. And then I just kind of have like a leftover here for other types. So hit shape is going to be very similar to our volumes here. I think, do we actually have... I think the only hit shape we actually have is on our player, which when it comes to serialization is actually going to be interesting, because we actually probably should have things that are marked as not serializable. That's an interesting. I'm gonna put something in here for that. For an entity specifically. How do I want to do this? Let's do to do. Check if serializable. Serializable. and only complete this if so. So this is recursive. So essentially what that would mean is if we have a top level object that's not serializable, none of its children would be either, which I'm fine with, I think. But what do we do in the case of we need to boot out of here? Maybe we should switch this to case an object out, or I guess we could say S object, right? And then change this to a B8, right? And then we can go, obviously if not, actually, you know what? I'm going to assert that. So I'm going to say assert that S object exists. So this is going to be dereference S object to create, and then we just need to remove the address ofs all over the place. Got a couple more. There we go. Okay. And we'll return true here instead. Okay. So if this is not serializable, then we're just going to boot out of here. You know what? Let's go ahead and just add the property. And that should probably be part of our entity flags, right? No need to store that in a separate Boolean. We could just do that here. So we'll do Illumina entity flag serializable. Right. So what we'll probably do is we'll default everything to be serializable. I think that's probably going to be the way to do it, to be completely honest. When we init base entity, we will set default to serializable, right? So we'll do entity flag serializable. We'll set that to true. And that way, every entity that we create this way is that way, unless we explicitly shut it off. That being said, avatars are an example of something we would not want to serialize, right? We spawn those in. So when we do add avatar, after we do Illumina scene add entity, this is going to be the base, right? So we're actually going to want to do, let's see, actually, do we have the base in here already? Do we have a pointer to the base? I don't think we do. Okay. So we can do scene entities. Wait. No, let's do get entity base, scene, and then we'll do entity, which is going to be a base. Right, and this gives us the base entity. Base entity, base, right? And now we can say flag set, and we want base flags. And the flag we want is Illumina entity flag serializable, and we want to set that to false. So avatars should never be serialized, right? That is something that gets spawned into the scene. We don't want that to be serialized. So now we can very easily go back to this and say, you know what, if not base, if not flag get base flags, Illumina entity flag serializable, then we just return false. Right, so that's no longer to do. Something I just thought about. Okay, so we only do serialization if we need to. Let me go down here and fix the reference to this function. I'm just going to do this actually. Let's initialize that to 0, and then we'll say if this returns. And we'll have to obviously pass the address of s_object. So if this returns true, then we will add the object to the entities array. Otherwise, we won't. Okay, let's see. Entity counts. Ooh, wait a minute. That seems wrong. Entity count root scene root entries. Oh wait, no, this is the root level. That's fine. Okay. That should be fine. Okay. The other thing we need to do is actually children. So we actually need this one more time. Because we also need this here at the bottom. So I'm just gonna take care of the recursive bit first, and then we'll go back to the actual specific types. Let's see. I am doing good. Thank you for asking. Let's see. I gotta expand this window so I can read chat here. It's fair. I've been using C for a while. Always end up having seg faults. Been meaning to have low-level language that helps me out. Not seg fault as much. Rust is too hard. IMO. Feel like Zig is a good alternative to me. I mean, seg faults teach you, right? Once you do it long enough, you'll eventually learn, exactly how to find those things. So, yeah, don't let seg faults discourage you. I mean, I've been programming in C and C++ for a long time. I still do it all the time. So don't worry about that. Just fix it when it comes up. Hey, so Cam is asking, how's the engine effort going? Good. We are actually in gameplay code land now. So we're actually kind of starting to do editor stuff, starting with serializing the scene, which is cool. How do you even start making game engine? File new. What I usually recommend to people, if you're interested in game engines and what goes into them, this is a fantastic book. It's called Game Engine Architecture, and it's by Jason Gregory. I recommend this book all the time. It is a thick book. It is at least 2 C's, maybe even 3 C's thick, right? It's a big boy, but it contains a high-level overview of all of the things that go into developing a game, engine, rather, and even has some stuff in there about memory management and kind of a basic little primer on C++, and it's got a lot of really good stuff in it. So I usually say if you're wanting to get into it, that's a good place to start. Is reading that book. I read it probably about once a year or so. I'm due to read through it again, actually, because I'm always picking up new stuff out of there. But other than that, you just kind of start building something and take note of what works and what doesn't. Don't be afraid to throw away your code, and rinse and repeat. C and Segfaults name a more iconic duo. True. Can't be done. Renderer is a great start. Yeah, exactly. A super simple renderer with like Fung shading, right? Yeah, you just kind of start off with something super small and just keep expanding it, keep building, keep adding new systems to it. Heads, okay. Zig and some compile time error your LSP does not tell about. Yeah. Ads ended? Okay, cool. Let's see. Stream inspired me to continue my software project, currently porting it back from C++ to C. Nice. Love to hear it. Main reason, designated init, and feature creep when using C++. Yep. I can, not to mention language complexity too, right? I much prefer the simplicity of C. All right, so this needs to be, instead of tree root, this needs to be S object. And instead of entities, this needs to be children. Right, so it's going to show up like what we have here, right? So essentially what this does, let's actually rename this to children array, right? So this will create a case and array for us to write out to here. We have entity, instead of scene root entities, this is going to be base children. And then for each one of these, we have the S object. Let's rename this to child object, right? And just do child object here and child object here. And then this is going to be base children sub I instead, right? So that's essentially how we're going to recurse through the children. I think I've got everything here. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so the next thing is we are, I guess, going to move on to the other types, right? So I'm actually going to, let's see, for the hit type entity, I guess the first thing we need to do actually is get the typed, right? So hit shape entity, hit shapes subtype index. Let's put a break here, and let's also do this, right? And let's see, typed, I guess it's just the collision shape is all that matters. And the collision shape just has a type name, or shape type, and radius or extents. So we can actually literally just use this same logic here. So let's see. Actually, I think that just drops right in. I don't even think I have to change anything. I think that'll just work. Okay, so that's hit shapes. Pretty easy stuff. These more often than not are probably going to wind up being part of a like an avatar. So there's probably not going to be a lot of cases where we're going to be serializing these directly. But, you know, we'll see. All right, so point lights is next. So the point light is going to be, let's see, point light entity. We'll do typed equals the address of scene point lights sub type index. And then on that, we have a few properties. So we have color, handle, linear, and quadratic. So color is pretty self-explanatory. K-light, we don't serialize the handle, so that's actually created for us whenever we read one of those in. So we have to remember not to serialize that. And then we have the linear and quadratic properties that we do need to serialize. So we have a color 3, which is also a vector 3, and then we have 2 floats. So we can actually do, let's see, let's put a break here first. We can do a KSON object value add vec3. The object is going to be S objects. The name is going to be color, and the value is going to be typed color, right? So we have that, and then we have KSON object value add float. That's going to be S object again. The name here is going to be, let's see, we had linear and quadratic, right? So typed linear, and I'm actually just going to copy pasta this and say quadratic, right? And that is all the properties for that. Spawn points, I don't remember if they actually have any properties of their own. I don't believe they do, at least not yet. So what we're going to do here is just say note, spawn points have no serializable properties of their own at this time, right? Break. So that one's nice and easy. And then of course we have type count and invalid. So those are not going to be something that we're going to deal with. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this type, the none type. Actually, no, that's going to be something different, because none is actually just a, since this is just a base entity, right? It's basically just a container is all that's for. But these don't actually do anything. So we're also going to say note, these don't do anything. Perhaps should error here. Actually, nah. I'll leave it for now. Maybe we'll error here in the future. So let's do kwarn entity type of count or invalid. Don't have properties to be serialized. And for now, we're going to write it anyways. Just treat it as a base node, but it is what it is. Okay, so that is serializing a entity for now. So we serialize all of that. We serialize the entities. We add the entities to the root. And then we gather the output from the KSON tree to the string, right? So we have an output string here, clean up the tree, and then return this. So here is the serialize. And now if we actually want to save this out as an asset, that is going to be something else we're going to have to figure out. So there's two ways that I could see this output being used, right? Well, ultimately that output's going to be written to a file somewhere. It's either going to be written to a new file, or it's going to be written to an existing file overwriting a scene that's already there. So we have, let's see, how do we handle the deserialize when this comes in? Only when a scene creates. Do we actually have, so here's the config. Which is just a string. So at this point, we're not even dealing with files at this point. I feel like saving this is actually outside the responsibility of the scene itself. It should definitely be handled by our file system. Potentially our asset system that lays on top of the VFS. If it's not a new scene, which we're also going to have to figure out how to plug that into an editor, right? So that not only can we load existing scenes, but we can also load a new one. Well, let's see. If only we could spend the 30 minutes compiling for a fake solution for it. Yeah, right? Alex, how's it going? Good to see you. Been a while since you caught a last stream. At least this time. Oh my gosh. Alexa, stop. Keep forgetting to mute my Alexa. For some reason, it just meowed at me. Stupid thing. All right. Been a while since I caught last stream. At least this time. It's because I woke up early instead of staying up late. Fair enough. Diamond, good to see you as well. How's it going? Here to watch Linux debugging? Yeah, I mean, we might do some debugging. We'll see. Got nerd sniped into writing a task management system after watching Soding. Oh, man. If I only had a counter for the amount of times I've been nerd sniped for stuff like that. Yeah. Working on a NeoVim plugin now. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, Spiro, exactly. Yep. I keep forgetting to mute the stupid thing. All right. So I guess technically our zone system is what handles this for now, but I don't necessarily want to attach this to that. I feel like this probably is something that could exist in our main for now. Was there a... We do have a save in here, though. It's only available on debug. I don't think...
You dingus.
Do we actually have... Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome. Couple of ideas for NeoVim plugins that I want to work on. But if I ever get started down that rabbit hole, I may be one I never recover from. Yeah, I want to write a highlighter for Kaysen at some point. But I mean, I guess that's more of an LSP than a plugin. But do we actually have? I don't think we actually save off what the asset is, do we? I don't think so. Poop. Okay. I'm going to remove the save out of here because this just doesn't make any sense. Let's get rid of that from there and here. Not going to do it. Thank you so much for the Prime, Alex. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that support. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Orshi, good to see you as well. How's it going, bud? Okay, so if we're not saving here, let's go back to the main. We really need to split this out into the editor. So I might move this afterwards, but I just kind of want to get it to work for now. I guess we could add a console command. That actually kind of makes sense. Oh, save zone. We actually have something in here. Save zone. Oh, here we go right here. So instead of doing that, we should probably have the scene serializer exposed and call it from here. So if we do there it is. Let's take this, let's make that non-static. And then let's see what's near this. I think this is down where all of our other static stuff is. I may have to hoist this up elsewhere. Yeah, I think so. All right. Let's put that. Let's see. Do we want this for non-debug builds? I guess we can say that we do. Let's go all the way down here to the bottom, and I'm going to put it here. And we're going to do const struct Illumina scene, right? And do we need, I guess we don't need to export those symbols for now. That should be good enough. Okay, so this should be let's do serialized equals Illumina scene. Oh, did I just call it serialized like a dingus? I think I did. Yeah. Because this needs to be, oops. So serialize. And then I also think I saw that up here at the top somewhere. Yeah. We don't need that for declaration anymore. Okay. All right, so we can do and then I think the only thing it actually requires is just this. Right, so we'll do that, and then do okay. And then if for some reason that fails, scene serialization failed. And we can just return at that point. Okay, so here is where we need to actually, this should be routed through the zone system. I don't know that I agree with that anymore. Technically, it's not saving a zone, it's saving a scene. But I'll route it through this for now. Actually, I'm going to have to think about how that's going to work, because technically speaking, we're going to have two different states that we're going to be dealing with. We're going to have sort of an editor state, and we're going to have a game state. The game state will use a zone, but the editor state won't, because it doesn't need it, right? It's literally just building. I wonder if I should just get rid of the zone thing altogether and just build it into... I wonder if I should just build that into the scene logic. Simplify that some. We might. Either or. Let's see if we can get this to work. So let's do we have assets? Do we have a right? No, we don't. Okay. So how do we want to do this? Do we want to go through... Actually, current zone... What does this have in it? Ah, we do have these available here. Okay. So we can actually use our asset system, because we did save these things off. Perfect. So that is a good thing. However, I don't think our asset system actually has the capability to write out scenes at the moment. Which a scene is basically just a KSON file, right? So how do I want to handle that? Because technically speaking, it's... When we do zone load, I think we read this in as a text asset. Have to refresh my memory. It's been a bit since I wrote this code. Yeah. We do a text asset. So I guess we could just write that asset. I think that makes sense. All right, so maybe we have here KPI, and I guess we'll do a return type of Boolean just to indicate success or failure. And we'll do asset system write text asset. Or just write text, I guess. So struct asset system states. And then instead of doing it from a direct asset, we're going to do package name and asset name. And then from there, we can actually get the path of that particular asset and write it. So if we go to, oops. If we go to here, all right, so if we do, obviously we'll have to do a assertion on states and package name and asset name. They'll all need to exist. And then I guess what we could do is we can let's see, we should have a way to be able to just say VFS request asset sync, VFS file written. Oh, I don't think we have anything in our VFS to actually do this either, do we? Oh, here we go. VFS asset write text. That's what we need. We do have it. I thought so. So write text, that's going to be looking for VFS state. So that's going to be state VFS. What's the next thing it's looking for? Wants state asset name, package name. Okay. You know what? We already have the K names. I think it's fair enough to assume that we have K names at this point. When we're writing something back out, we would have already had a stored K name for that. So this wants asset name, package name, and text, right? So asset name, package name, and the content might help. There we go. And content. That, I believe, returns a Boolean as well. So we can actually just return that. And is that it? I think it might actually be. So back in here, we can actually do asset system write text. Engine systems gets asset states. The package name is going to be, you know what? I'm going to take a convenience pointer here. That way I can just do z dots scene scene name and package name. Was it scene name? I guess. And then the content, which is, what do we call that? Serialized. And if that fails, at this point, there's not much we could do about it. We could just bleat about it, right? So KR failed to save scene asset. And that's about it, right? So write the text asset to disk. There is an error in here somewhere. Where is that? We had this set up twice. That's a game command. Game on scene save. Game on save scene. What is that tied to? Oh, we tied Control S to it. Okay. All right, probably what I should do is split out that function into its own thing somewhere. Basically this whole section here. Yeah, essentially this whole section here. So let's do static void save zone. Or I guess save scene. Yeah, let's actually make it scene level. So I'm going to paste this in here, but we're not going to keep all of it. What I want is zone. So we want, const Illumina scene. And so this is going to be scene. Oh, is it bleating because that's const? This should probably be const, if we're honest. Okay, so we don't need this. And we don't need this. And let's do a B8 on that. And struct Illumina scene. And serialize. This is going to be scene. Serialize. Okay, so this is going to be return false. This will be return true. This will be, whoops, return false. Or actually, I could just do, let's actually do this a little bit differently. Let's actually say, if we wrote that, and we're going to say kname, package name, oops, kname, asset name. All right, so we can just do this, package name, asset name. If that's wrote successfully, then we return true. Otherwise, we bleat out whatever error there is and return false. Okay. So save scene, we can then take and go to the top. And let's actually move this. I guess it doesn't really matter too much, but sure, we'll put it here. Right? And then down here, we can do, after we've checked the loaded and all of that, let's actually just do z or zone z equals app state zone state current zone.
You dingus.
We'll move this up here. Then we can just say if z, and in here just change this to z, and same thing here. But instead of doing the saving the scene here, we'll check its state here. If loaded, do we actually save scene? So that's going to be z zone scene, and then z scene package name, and z scene name. And I guess we don't really care about the internals of that. So let's see. We already checked the state there. So we don't even have to do this. All we have to do is that. So we could actually just report the error here. And let's actually go one step further, and we're just going to spit out the function name. Just so we know where that came from. Okay. So that's a lot cleaner. Didn't we have... So save scene is done there, and command save zone needs to do the same thing. So it should just be if not save scene. The scene is going to be Z. So scene, Z, scene package name, Z, scene name. And then, care, spit out the function name again, failed to save scene. Okay, and now we can get rid of all this other poop. And we're just going to handle it that way, right? So that way both of those things are hooked up the same way, run through the same code, and then when we get ready to move this to the editor, all we have to do is pick up this function and move it, and we're done. Okay. Let's build. Let's see, let me catch up on chat just for a second. Diamante, are you trying to say that I nerd sniped you into making a game engine? Is that what I'm getting here? Have all my game engine tasks to do written on 3 papers on my desk somewhere. Oof. Yeah, I used to do it that way. But I much prefer just being able to have them in the code where they're supposed to be, and I could just search the code base for them and knock them out. Which I'm going to have to do a to-do pass pretty quickly here soon. Probably after we get some editor stuff done. There's quite a lot of them through the code base that some of them I really need to fix. Yeah, because I mean, I could just do... There we go. You know, that's every single one. 361 of them. Some of them are probably outdated, but yeah. Despise GitHub issues. Personal preference thing. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with GitHub issues, right? It makes things easy to report, like, that users find. And, like, I can directly reference them in commits to, like, auto-flip the status of the task. But, like, so all of that is kind of cool, but I don't know.
You dingus.
I don't know how I feel about it. I don't love it either. Olex, thank you for the follow, by the way. Hi there, do you type def your structs? Wait, do you type def your structs, or you don't do that to keep it explicit when declaring them? I do type def them, yeah. So, I do all of my structs this way. I type def struct, I use this name, and then I use the same name down here again. That way, whenever I go to refer to it, if I want to forward declare it, or, I could just do struct that name. Or if I just want to use it and it's already been included somewhere, I could just use the name. And it keeps me from having to have like underscore T's for everywhere. So it works pretty well for me. I like it. Did I already build? I forget. Notice that you have struct before some function arguments. Yeah, so that's where I forward declare it. So if I try, as a rule of thumb, to not include headers and other headers. Although lately I've had to do quite a lot of that, but as a rule, I try to avoid it wherever I can, and I usually will just forward declare the struct in that header file, and then use the struct tag in the function argument, and then in the C file I will actually have the include there, to be able to resolve what that actually is, and that's usually the way I do it, just so that I don't have includes like everywhere. It also helps with circular references and things like that. Okay, so let's run this really quickly. I do want to open up this. So this is our zone file. I'm going to close everything else, actually. Close others. There we go. Because let's reset all of this stuff, actually. I want to see if this actually gets written to, right? So this is zone 00 ITS. Oh, I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see how that actually, if it writes to that file. Okay. So we're going to test this, and I'm going to do load, switch to editor mode, and I don't know. I'll move this tree over here. And then let's see, Control S. Segfault. Sweet. D-array length. Okay, so yep, that makes sense. Okay, so what do we have? What did we? Oh, what a dongus. Okay, well that's an easy one to fix at least. Remember we were talking about segfaults? Prime example. Dingus-oriented programming at your service. Serialize. I think it was in here. Actually, there's two places I can think this might be. But what we're going to do here is we're going to say base children. If it exists, I want the length. If it does not exist, 0. And then I also think that might be an issue. Root entities. Do we create that? Do we create that right off the bat when we create this? Yes, we do. Okay, so that should always exist. So that shouldn't be a problem. All right, let's try that again. All right, so as before, we'll load up scene, switch to editor, and we will, let me see, actually want to move this guy over here. Control S. Okay, let's see, Kaysen, add name a string, failed to convert value to string. I wonder which properties that was for. Did we actually though? We did write to it. All right, let's see how foobar this is. Because there may be some things that we necessarily don't want to write out. Ooh, we're writing entities as an object, not an array. That's an issue. Okay, let's fix that first. Let's see. So that should be... Wait a minute. Serialize. So entities, array, case an array creates. Add object. Oh, this should probably be add array. Okay, that should fix that one. Let's see. All of our new lines have been nuked, so I'm actually just going to put those back in here just for a second, just to make it a little bit easier. Directional light color. Oh, we wrote the direction as the color. Okay, that's another issue. Oh, direction is here twice. Yep. That should be get color. Okay, that should fix that. Let's see, what's the next one? Okay, we just added extra zeros onto that, so that's fine. Type none. I think if we have a type none, I might not write the type out. And then also if our transform is an identity transform, we might also not write that out. Which that one is an identity transform. I can tell because there are, so this is XYZ position, and then rotation is here. That's identity quaternion, and then 1 for scale, right? So we probably shouldn't write that out in that case. So let's go and look at type. So let's see. These are, this is all entity stuff now. Okay, so if we go here, we have type. We're going to say if base type is not equal to limit entity type none, then we'll go ahead and do that. Right? Okay. Now we add the string transform. But we also said we'd kind of like to have the requirement where if there isn't a, like if it's an identity transform, maybe we don't write it out, or maybe we always just do write it out. But the deserializer is smart enough to know, like if one's not provided, it just makes one. Dingus Dev, thank you for the lurk. Appreciate that. Really started to despise Microsoft, so I'm starting to despise GitHub by association. Yeah. I've been thinking about alternatives, but I haven't found one yet. I haven't found one that I'm not worried about, like, going offline at some point. Been a Windows user for a long time, got Cache OS installed on one of my machines, loving it for dev so far. Yeah, that's the way, like, once I went on Arch, I just never looked back. I even prefer Mac OS over Windows for sure. 100%. It was getting your Steam Deck last year that converted you fully. That's funny, Apotham. Hey, I mean, whatever works though, right? Self-hosting's the way. Yeah. There's a problem in self-hosting though. And that is, what if, heaven forbid, something catastrophic happens and the machine gets destroyed? Right? Then what? All that work's gone. So, like, I'd also want to have some sort of off-site backup of it somewhere. Yeah. So, it's just one of those things I have to think about. Because I've thought about self-hosting. It'd be nice. I've got a server right there. That's more than capable of handling it. It's just, yeah, I would have to set up an offsite backup that, ran every once in a while. Look into Forge Joe. Okay. I will open a tab with that. Thank you. I will take a look at that. Every few months, put the project on a HDD and store it somewhere safe. Yeah, that's a possibility too. I just have to find a good way of doing that. That's not going to be expensive. But like, I don't want to just put the backup on a hard drive that sits right next to the machine or in the same area as the machine, right? Because that kind of If a hurricane comes along or something and blows everything away, then what? So yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that like I've dealt with enough hardware failure over the years that it's just not something that I take lightly. Codeberg, I've heard of Codeberg before. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much about it though. It also runs on Forge Joe. Okay. You use your buddy's server for offsite stuff. Yeah, that's the move right there, for sure. Let's see. Is there a simple example that shows how to code in Kohi to like just drawing a cube? Not yet. So one of the things that we're doing is as I'm building this stuff, I'm thinking to myself about how I can extract a lot of the generic parts of this into a template that comes with it, right? So I can actually have a template project that comes with the game that shows you, or that comes with the engine rather, that shows you how to do simple stuff. We're just not there yet. It's too early. I will probably have a lot of that stuff once we get much further into game development, but I have to, test the core components before I can start thinking about stuff like that. But that is a valid question. Okay, so K-transform to string, we should probably have, we don't have an is identity. I suppose we should probably have something that says, is this identity? I guess we should probably put it right here. So we'll do B8 K transform is identity, right? K transform T, right? And we'll just do this. Indicates if the provided transform is an identity transform, i.e. 0 position, identity, rotation, 1 scale. And this is not a pointer. This is just a handle to the transform matrix to be analyzed. That is not true. Okay, and then return true if the transform is identity, otherwise false. I normally don't bother with that much comments on a lot of stuff, but like for things that are central, like the math library, it's kind of math library transforms, things like that. It's probably a good idea to have it, right? Okay, so what I should probably do, get the state first, and then do we have anything in here? Yeah, I guess we do have this. Okay, so let's do this, and we'll say returning false. Did that say identity vector as rotation? That does. That should be quaternion, not vector. All right, so is identity. In fact, I'm actually just going to return false here. Otherwise, we need to do some evaluations. We need, do we have quat? We don't have quat is identity either, do we? We we should probably have that as well. Although I guess we could. Thinking. Yeah, okay. Let's go to here. Quad identity, right? And I'm going to do a K. Let's see, do I want to do this one inline? I guess we could. No, I'm not going to do it inline. B8 quat is identity, right? We'll do quat Q. Indicates if the provided quaternion is identity. 0, 0, 0, 1. All right, we'll take this, and then I'll go to kmath C. And I guess I'll just put this. I guess it doesn't really matter where I put it. Let's put it here. Sure. Actually, no. Let's put it here. All right, so all this is going to do is it's going to say kfloat compare, and we want to do q.x, or actually let's do q.elements sub I, right? We're going to do a loop. U8 I equals 0, I is less than 4 plus plus I. All right, and we're going to say if Q elements sub I is, oh, you know what? Let's do 3. So this needs to be 0. And we'll do k float epsilon. So we're basically going to do, whoops. Why doesn't it like that? We'll do if not, then return false. Too many arguments in function call. What did I, should be, oh, it doesn't need a third argument. I thought it did. Okay. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to say, well, let's check the first three against, let's check the first three against 0, right, within a certain tolerance. And then at the end, we'll also check the fourth element against 1. And we're just going to return the result of that. Whoops, no if. Let's see. That's there. Okay. So now we can say quat is identity, and we can check for that just very quickly without having to sort of do it in line all over the place. Okay, so the first thing we can do here is we can say quat is identity and just pass, oops, that rotation, right? So immediately, if not, return false. And that's actually not even the cheapest one that I can do. So I'm going to do the cheapest comparisons first. We can do if not vec3 compare. And we can do vec3 0. And we can do vec3 0 compare. 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 And we can do vec3 0 And then we'll do state positions t. And then this is the one I was thinking of tolerance for. K float. K float. Epsilon. Positions, that should be t. Right. So if that's the case, then return false. We can also do the same thing against scale, except 1. Scales. And then if we pass all those, return true. Okay. Now that we have that, we can do a quick check here. We can say if K transform is identity, base transform. Right, so if it's not identity, then we write it out. All right. Okay, so next thing. Let's see. Zig moved from GitHub to Codeberg, which is how I found out about ForgeDo. Okay. Going to spend a vacation in the near future to try and set up my own hosting and take down my GitHub. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll ever take mine down, but yeah, I hear you. Codeberg provides similar services as GitHub, but I think they require you to actually use an open source license. Never hosted anything. Oh, so that's a thing. Do they support private repos? Right, because the game code here is actually private. The engine code is open source right now, but the game is not open source right yet. It will be 2 years after release. Okay, so it looks like children is being output as a object, not an array. Let's see. Oh, yep, that should be array. You know what? Let's build this real quick. And of course, that's going to bleat because the hot reload is kicking in, and it doesn't like it. Okay, let's rerun this. Oh, you know what? I can't do that. I want to reset. I want to reset the file first, actually. Okay, so go to editor mode, get this tree. Let's see. I think you said we want to move it over here. All right, save and see how this looks now. Okay, so that's already better. Oh, that's still a... Oh, interesting. So this is an array now, and this... Okay, I've done that backwards, apparently. Hold on. Oh, this should be object. This should be array. And I'm just going to retest that one now because that's bothering me. Okay, so let's undo that. Save. And let's see. Okay, so empty... Okay, this is back to being an array. Empty children arrays should not be written out. Okay, it looks like it just tacked on zeros to a lot of these things. Didn't write extents here because it's a sphere. That's actually expected behavior, so that's good. I had put both here for testing, but it's good that it picked up on that. Oh, interesting. It renamed this because these K names are case insensitive, and that must have been where that string was first read in. That's interesting. Okay, I might want to use K strings for those instead of K names. Looks like most of this, though, is the children arrays being written where they really don't need to be. Putting in an asset package name where it was missing. Yeah, I think we're like 90% there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, obviously it adds like a lot of zeros and stuff like that, but that's kind of to be expected. Okay, so let's kill this. And let's see. So if we have... Oh, I guess actually all I need to do is just wrap this in a if and any count. Right, and we should probably also rename this to child count. All right, so one more time, let's just see what this looks like. I've reset that file already. So we'll switch to editor mode. Grab this tree. Move it over there. Save. Exit. Take a look at what the changes are. Ooh. Wrote something funky there at the end. We're going to have to fix that. I wonder why I did that. I wrote the null character all the way at the end. Okay. I'll have to fix that. I don't know where that issue actually resides either. So it looks like it's all just positional data that got changed. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty consistent with what we had before. Oh, wait a minute. We're missing a whole bunch of properties for our audio emitter. That's no bueno. Okay, so audio emitter. Oh, how did I miss all those? Okay. So let's see. We are missing. Wait, what changed here? Oh, interesting. That was a vector 3 that got written out. But it read in a vector 4. I'm going to have to look into that too. Okay, so this... basically needs all this stuff. So I'm just going to do... that. Okay, so we have... wait, asset name did get written? Audio emitter. I'm not seeing that being written here, though. It says it should. Oh, maybe this is what it's talking about. Maybe that's what these here are. Oh, I see what I did, I think. Oh, no, those are K-names. Add K-name as string. Maybe we're not deserializing that correctly. deserialize entity. Asset name. So we take the asset name there and the asset package name. Add audio emitter. Okay, so they're at least passed along to here because I know they get loaded. Name, asset name. Okay, so asset name. Audio emitter creates. That's for the audio engine though. So we pass it along, but we never actually save it off is the problem. So this needs to be new ent asset name equals asset name, and new ent package name equals package name. What else though? Because I feel like the emitter is there, which I suppose I could pull properties from that. Flags. Audio emitter entity flags. Let me see. Outer radius, inner radius. Like none of that stuff is actually saved off here. It should be. Okay. So technically, I guess this is actually where, and I even have a note for serialization there. So let's grab this. Okay, so this is going to be F32. This is going to be F32. This is going to be F32. This is going to be B8 and B8. Whoops, what do I do here? F32. Okay. Okay. I'm actually surprised that like none of that stuff got. So we'll do inner radius equals inner radius. Outer radius equals outer radius. Fall off equals fall off. What else was it? Volume. Is streaming and is looping. New ent is streaming equals is streaming. Okay, so all that stuff is saved there. So now we just need to do the opposite. So we already have those two things which are being cached now correctly. We have 4 floats and 2 bools. So case-in object value add float s object. Right, so this is going to be inner radius, and this will be typed inner radius. And I'm just going to do outer radius here, and let's see, fall off, and a volume. Okay, and then KSON object value add bool s object is streaming. So typed is streaming, and just copy pasta this to is looping. Get rid of this. And now we should be able to serialize correctly. So I'm going to reset this again. So editor mode. Move this over here. Save. It does look like we're still missing one string from somewhere, so we'll have to figure that out. But we do at least have all of these properties in there correct. So let's see. Where are we missing a string? Is it for like a number or something? Or a name somewhere? Right here. That one's not being written out. For type of model. Wait, no, we did write that one out where we weren't writing it out before. So I need to look for one that's red here. Some sort of string that's red. Oh. That right there is an issue. It's missing the G off the end. Yeah. Okay, so that is probably the join function that I wrote. And it's failing to convert to string for some reason. Kname as string. So let's do a copy. Let's go here. And check out that warning. I'm going to kill the application real quick and can you use Apple Music on Twitch? I don't see why not. As long as you don't stream it to YouTube, it should be fine. I'm using Spotify at the moment. If you want private, they say host on ForgeGeo. Okay, yeah. Codeberg does not have private repos. I think I remember reading that now. And that was what kept me from moving over there. I don't have a whole lot of repos that I need private, but I do have a couple. Yeah, I think ForgeGeo might be the option I go with if I wind up switching. They give you 100 megabytes of private storage if you're a contributor to an open source project. Okay. 100 megabytes is not going to go a long way with a game, though. Went back to my PNG parser. Wait, your PNG parser OS? You can move it into my standard library. Oh my god, I was shit at coding 1 year ago. Yeah. So much unnecessary stuff. Yep. I look at my code from several years ago and I'm just like, what was I thinking? What a dingus. Found an old computer that had code I'd written 20 years ago. Couldn't spend more than a minute looking at it because I was cringing way too hard. Oh, I can only imagine. Frozen Shadow, how's it going? Good to see you. There's always GitLab. Yeah, I've used GitLab before too. I'm trying to remember why I stopped using it. I don't remember what my reason was. I did have a reason, but oh, and why did the treetops not load? Is that just a fluke? Yeah, apparently. Okay. Slightly concerning, but we'll have to come back to that another time. All right, so let's try again. moving this over here. Save. All right, now I want to know what name. So we've got an entity that's not named. Oh, I guess that's fine though, because technically entities don't require names. So really what we should be doing here is probably just not trying to serialize it. So here, if base name is not equal to invalid K name, then we do this. Okay, so let's restart that one more time. And we will try moving this over here. Save. Okay, no more warnings. That's good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and exit, and now I'm going to just go ahead and load it up. And we should see the tree is where I left it. Perfect. Okay, so our scene serialization is working, which is awesome. So we have the ability to make edits and save the scene. Let me double check one more time to make sure that we're not missing anything dire. Oh yeah, I think I had, yeah, there was an issue in here. That's right. Something having to do with the hit shape tags. Port to zone 2, so that was a volume, a trigger type volume. I really need to see why it's doing that, because that is not good. That's data loss. All right, so let's do, I'm gonna have to reset that again. Okay, so serialize, here we go. So essentially, we have this new function that I wrote, which this is the first time it's being exercised, so I'm not surprised there's a bug. It's kString ID join, so hit shape tags are string IDs. And so we call this, that basically joins them with some sort of delimiter, in this case a comma, and then it returns a newly formed string. So when we are going through here, I think this might actually be where my problem is. Okay, so we go through, we do a running tally on the total length. So we keep an array of lengths, grab the string, get the length of that string, store it off in that array, add it to the total length. Space for delimiters. Oh, okay, so space for delimiters, and I'm already doing count -1 here. But then I'm saying overwrite the final delimiter character with a null terminator. Don't need to do that. Really what it should be, total length so we do a total length. This should technically be total length +1, and then this should just be total length. Right, null terminate the string. think that should be right. Okay, so let's open this up again. Load. And I'm actually just going to, I'm not even going to modify anything. I'm just going to save it. Cool. Did I object clean up? That's suspicious. So that didn't happen until we modified that function. Let me see if I did something stupid. Rethink about this again. So the total length is going to be the length. So we get the length of every string first, which doesn't include nulls. Then we do total length plus equals count minus 1 for delimiters, which should be enough for every delimiter, enough for all delimiters, meaning that there's not one at the end, no trailing delimiter. Then we allocate total length plus 1 for a null terminator. Then we do offset. Lengths I plus 1. Except actually that should be fine. Yeah, I'm gonna have to line by line this one, I think. Editor things thought Kohi would be editorless, more like a framework like Raylib. I mean, yes, but also no. Yeah, it's not a fully fledged editor like the big engines, right? Like Godot or Unreal. It's not that kind of an editor, right? It's just enough tooling that we need to actually build like scenes and stuff. So it's literally like a gizmo being able to select objects in the scene and move them around and rotate them and scale them, things like that. We're only building a very, very basic editor and then serializing it to a scene, which is what I'm trying to figure out now. Okay. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to go to... let's see. 1445. I want to see, before I do this, what that string looks like. Right, so I'm going to save this. Outstring. But it is writing the last delimiter. And is it writing a space as well? Lame. Okay. So doing total length. Right, so this is 20. So index 19 should have zeroed that out correctly. Is there a space in there? I can't tell. No, there's not. So what am I missing? Because that doesn't appear to actually have broken anything.
You dingus.
This is how that should be. Okay, I mean, I guess I could say, I could do that, right? And then remove that and still be correct. Oh, that didn't do it. What did that null out then? Oh, that one would have to be -1. Okay. That does make sense. So this would need to be -1. Right. That looks good. Okay. Wrote. So let's take a look at this file now. Whoops. The zone file. Where was that? Oh, here it is, right there. Okay. Fixed. Okay, so most of the oh, there's this thing too. Most of the changes, though, are just adding zeros onto the end. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. There was this one issue in here. Where was that? Color. Okay, so the point light color. See. So serialize. When we do a point light, we add it as a color 3. But when we do deserialize entity, where is point light? Here it is. Aha, we do read it as a vector 4. And then convert it to a vector 3. Not 100% sure why we're doing that, but I'm going to stick with the convention for now. Because I'm pretty sure I had a reason to do it, and I don't remember what it is, but I don't want to screw myself later and go, what the heck was that for? So this should be add vector 4, and then we'll do vec 4 from vec 3. Right, and then we'll do 1.0 as the final value. Okay. So this guy, we will reset him one more time. Save. Get rid of that breakpoint. We can exit that, and then where is it? Here it is. Let's just make sure that nothing else is going on with the data here. I think we are good. Okay. Yep, there's that. That's fixed. Okay. Aside from that null character, that is something we do need to fix. Let's see. So we do this. We return the outputs. I wonder. Save scene. I wonder if we do, for asset system write text, are we using that anywhere else? I think we just wrote that tonight, didn't we? Okay. So if we go here and then say VFS asset write text, which actually that's the only place we're using it. So it's unexercised code. Sweet. All right. So right there is the problem. Pretty sure. Okay, package asset text write. Yeah, I'm almost positive that's it. Okay. Let's reset this again. Save. Exit. Boom. Problem fixed. Okay, cool. That is scene serialization and saving done. So, let's see. So we've got all of our work in the scene and whatnot. Let me see what's done in Kohi. So quad identity asset system. Quad identity. Transform identity checks functions. Case string bug fixes. Let's see what else. Asset system text writing. All right. So that'll be there. And then this was oops, commits scene serialization and saving. And that's actually pretty much everything we did there. So git push. All right. So not quite the editor stuff that I was hoping to actually knock out tonight, but the good part of this is, oh, you know what? I should probably also test the, really quickly. We do have game command save zone. So if we register, if we just do save zone in the console, that should also work. So let's test that out really quickly, because we're going to need that for our UI. So we'll go to editor mode, and once again, I'm just going to grab this tree and move it over here. And then I'm going to go save zone. All right, looks like it did it. And the only change is the transform. Perfect. So that is where we're going to wrap it up for tonight. We catch up with chat just for a second here before we end the stream. What debugger do you use? I use this. And the only reason I use this, that shall not be named, is because it's consistent cross-platform. I'm looking to replace it really soon, though. What kind of game are you making? I am making a 3D isometric action RPG. Good night, it's 5 a.m. there. Yeah, fair enough. I'm ending here too. Just wrapping things up for the night. Let's see. Thank you for the follow, Cozy Pasha 0. Appreciate that. I use Clang. Yep, I use Clang because, again, cross-platform. It was the easiest for me to set up. Let's see. I like the fact that I use that just for Git file fixes. I mean, I could do Git reset in the console too, but it's just faster. As soon as a rad debugger is viable on Linux, yeah, exactly, right? I am wanting to give that a whirl, but the only thing is, I don't know if he's porting it to Mac OS too. I need one for there also. So that's the thing. Like, this is the only one that is pretty much the same experience across the board. But we'll see. Anyway, let me find somebody to raid. Hopefully we'll find something that is relatively related to what we're doing. Let's see what's out there. Just bear with me for a minute here. And while I'm looking, by the way, if you guys haven't already tossed me a follow, I would greatly appreciate it, either on the Twitch side or the YouTube side, or if you're so inclined, both. That would be really neat. Trying to grow the channels and whatnot. So each and every one of those is very much appreciated.
You dingus.
Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Okay, I think there's not a whole lot of Not a whole lot of C or C++ on tonight, I don't think. So I think what I'm going to do is... You know what? I haven't rated Bad Cop in a while. Bad Cop says learning Bash, which is deeply funny because I know Bad Cop knows Bash, so I'm not sure what that's about, but we'll find out. Let's raid Bad Cop. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. We'll be back tomorrow night with some actual editor shenanigans now that we have scene saving hooked up. And yeah, that's going to do it. I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for being here. See ya.